Netflix show Tiger King became a huge hit during lockdown, with millions of us tuning in to watch the extraordinary twists and turns of Joe Exotic and his big cats.
Joe is currently serving a 22-year jail sentence for plotting to murder animal rights activist Carol Baskin. He claims he's innocent and he's planning to apply for a presidential pardon in the next few weeks.
Well, it is an absolutely extraordinary story, and Joe Exotic's husband, Dylan Passage, joins us now. A very good morning to you, Dylan.
Good morning.
And before we talk about, of course, the presidential pardon and the other things about Joe, who is incarcerated at the moment, when you took part in this documentary for Netflix, did you have any idea, A, about the twists and turns that would come, and B, just how enormously interested the whole world would become in you and Joe and the whole saga?
No, so originally the producers had told us that the show was just going to be about like the big cat underworld, and then Joe got arrested and the whole thing kind of changed. But even then, like when the show first dropped, the producers, Eric and Rebecca, they had said, they had no idea it was going to be so big. So they were kind of shocked at, how popular it was around the world.
And how has your life changed since this became a global phenomenon?
I feel like, at first it was super overwhelming. There was a lot of eyes on my life and a lot of people like super curious about like what I was doing and, life with Joe. So, I was getting drilled a lot, but now it's kind of normal. I still get recognized sometimes, like if I'm out and about. Still kind of weird to me, but yeah, I'm getting used to it, and I just try to continue living the same way I did before. I spend most of my time with my friends and family.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary thing to be caught up in, isn't it? Joe Exotic is not an average person, is he, in any respect of it? He is, of course, in jail now. What is going on with this presidential pardon? I think President Trump was asked and he said he had no idea who Joe Exotic was. What's your understanding of what's going to happen with this presidential pardon? How will it work? What are the grounds for it? I mean, he's been convicted of very serious crimes here, of, conspiring to murder.
Mm-hmm. So the pardon, Joe's legal team is like sending out the request for it and all this next week, I believe, or the week after, and they're driving a car all the way up to DC to deliver it, in person. But yeah, it's weird. So like, we all know the situation, like people that are actually in Joe's life. We know that he was confronted with this plot kind of thing to take out Carol. So he was kind of put in a position where he was already in a really depressed mental state. And that was kind of taken advantage of by, someone he thought he could trust. And, there's loads of evidence that proves it that was not used in the court cases. A lot of it was thrown out by the judge. So like there was another agenda, like between multiple little corporations in the animal world, kind of all working against Joe in one thing. So a lot of people were trying to get him out of the business. And, a lot of that's going to come to light during this pardon. And, if not the pardon, if it's rejected, then the appeals process is really going to, show the world exactly the situation that had happened.
Dylan, what's your response to some people who look at this and say, well, despite all the scandal and all the detail of this true crime series, is that at the heart of it are tigers? These are a very rare species now around the world. And here in this zoo, you've enclosed hundreds of these big cats. And a lot of people say it's cruel. It's cruel to keep tigers in this way. How do you respond to that?
I can agree with them. It definitely is. When Joe first opened the zoo and started that kind of business, it was mainly for his love for the animals and trying to keep the species thriving and going, although they were not in the wild. In my opinion, the only way to keep an endangered species alive is to breed in captivity. And once they're bred into captivity, they can never be released back into the wild because that natural instinct is kind of subsided by being in captivity. But, eventually Joe became more worried about what people thought and then the fame. And then he would take in more and more animals from like zoos and circuses closing. And then he would need more money for it. And so that's when he started breeding.
Are they being looked after now? That's a concern with Joe. He was sort of the leader of this zoo. It's his zoo. He's now in prison. Are they in good care? Is someone looking after them?
So just recently, Jeff Lowe, he lost his USDA license, and now he is back in Vegas, in Nevada, dealing with some court stuff. So the zoo has officially been closed down. Carol Baskin owns the zoo.
Yeah.
Right.
So Jeff had to find a way to move all the animals, and honestly, I have no idea where they have gone.
Okay.
Joe's legal team is trying to work and figure out what's happening with all of them.
And Dylan, just a final word before you go. Tiger King 2 is being produced, isn't it? Will you be in it? Will Joe be in it?
Yeah, so I've done a little bit of filming for that. I do not know the release date, but it's going to be very interesting because it's going to tell like a little bit of during Joe's arrest and afterwards. I know that there's probably some phone calls and recordings of Joe that's going to be in it, but there was no filming since he's incarcerated.
Of course. Okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting to talk to you, Dylan, and of course we will all be watching with bated breath when Tiger King 2 is released. Thanks so much for talking to us this morning.